lifts breaking or the fire alarms and things like this. Industrial, so this is a very exciting sector. We just did a webinar yesterday with about 300 or 400 industrial investors and FDI companies. So, many manufacturers and many organizations are moving their manufacturing to Vietnam. And we work with a lot of clients coming out of China, out of Japan, out of Korea. And Vietnam is definitely moving up the value chain in its manufacturing environment. 10 years ago, it'd be a lot of apparel, footwear, this type of thing. Now it's high tech, and it's very much up the value chain. And Vietnam is very highly regarded in terms of, or for industrial real estate, the key drivers are land price. So the land price is still reasonable, access to qualified labor and labor costs, but also the infrastructure, so access to the ports, to the airports, etc. So a lot of the Samsung electronics and white goods are made in Vietnam, so they need to ship these things out quickly. Data center is an interesting one. Now everyone's, now I'm sure you're buying a lot of things on Shopee and doing a lot of stuff online, right? So this data does need to be actually stored somewhere. So data centers and having access to high quality, fast internet is something that we need more of in Vietnam. So this needs to be provided by these data centers, and these are quite intensive land uses. And as you can imagine, you can't just stick these things anywhere. Very sensitive, secure equipment. So there's a lot of interesting work that we do working with these data center providers or investors. It could be the Facebooks, it could be Amazon, these types of companies that need a secure close location to access their customers and provide their data. Logistics, once you've bought your stuff on Shopee, it needs to get shipped to you pretty quickly. So logistics centers around the country are very important. This is a huge part of the real estate sector now. Industrial conjures up this image of, kind of sort of crusty old factories and warehouses and stuff like that. It is that, but it's also one of the most dynamic, interesting, diverse sectors that requires a lot of bright young things to come into it and think about how to drive the economy forward. So give industrial a thought. Special purpose, so the hospitals, could be solar, could be farmland, could be wind farms in the sea, the airports, etc. So any of these types of functions, it needs to be evaluated, research needs to be done. If you're opening a new airport terminal or you want to locate your solar power farm, there's a lot of real estate components to this, right? And farming. In the UK, Savills has a major farming division, and forestry. These types of land uses are very important in real estate as well, and it's not something you'd necessarily think about. So as I said, everyone is more familiar with real estate than you might imagine. You're using it all the time. You'll be working in it. You'll be studying it. So look around you and start to think: how was that real estate created? Who planned it? Who paid for it? Who developed it? Who designed it? And start to think about that process. Just covering what we discussed. So very diverse sector. Real estate as an economic product has some special characteristics which make it interesting, but also challenging, right? If you think about it, it's very durable, particularly land, right? It doesn't go away unless you count erosion. It takes a long time to build these things and develop these things, years. So it's not something you can just create overnight. So this has its own set of challenges. If you think about it, it's typically immobile as well, unless it's a caravan that you live in. But that makes it quite an unusual economic product as well. It's an investment and a consumption good. So you use it and you can invest into it. So that affects the business cycles and the economic cycles. And if you look at listed real estate and real estate developers and their shares and these type of things, it has a big impact on how these companies are valued. And if any of you are buying shares in the stock market, I'm sure you're getting into the real estate sector as well. It's expensive, high transaction costs, both in purchasing, but also in the transaction cost itself, in terms of legal, agency fees, this type of thing. So it's quite a chunky purchase. If any of you buy apartments and things like that, I'm sure you can appreciate. It's also each real estate product is unique, right? So it's different from, say, a financial product, which would be homogeneous. Everything is unique. Even apartments within the same building, they don't occupy the same physical space, so they are unique. They could be on different floors, different views, different locations. So some of these characteristics make it an interesting and challenging product to value, to research, to think about, to plan and design. It's an enormous part of the global economy. There's something, I'm just trying to think of the figure. So where are we? I mean, if you think about all the residential development or the commercial development, it's a huge amount of the investment universe. Is that what we said? Yeah. So if those of you are thinking going to the investment banking or financial sector, think about what is real estate, and think about what the investment banks or funds are investing into. A lot of this is real estate. Sustainability, and I'm sure you're studying this or you've learned about this. This is very much on the hot topic. And those of you who've been following the news, Prime Minister Ching was just in Glasgow for COP26, so making some more commitments about Vietnam's environmental future. The statistic is that real estate accounts for about 40% of carbon use. Anyway, real estate is a huge holder of carbon. So how sustainable real estate is developed and designed is very important, both for new projects, but also how to make existing building stock more sustainable. So this is something we spend a lot of time on, and there's a lot more attention in this sector, a lot of certifications about how to green buildings, and about the amount of energy they use as well. If you live in an apartment building, just think about the air conditioning, think about the electricity, and how can we start to reduce some of those energy use, sustainable and for cost. We now have just on this again, we now have particular people working in leadership positions that are responsible for looking at us, for looking at developments to make sure that this does take place. Many companies, including Savills, have made commitments to become carbon net zero by 2030. So something, if you're interested in that sector, then spare a thought for real estate as well. I think I just touched on all this. Very key across all sectors, but also logistics sector, and you'll see very often logistics centres or industrial real estate with solar power across the roofs. Think about a factory roof; it's huge, right? So a lot of this, the renewable energy sector and how that links with real estate is very important as well. Okay, I'll send you this presentation. I'll let you have a look at this later. We work with a lot of organisations in Vietnam, both ESG, so this is covering environmental, social and government. So on the environmental side, we're very focused, as I said, on reducing energy use, and WWF has been very active with this for a long time, and we work a lot with them. On the social side, we do a lot of work with Blue Dragon, particularly, both in education, where we sponsor a number of students for their tertiary education, but also career advice and how we get more people into the labour force and good career prospects. You may not know that we manage around 50,000 apartments in Vietnam, so that's a lot of apartment units, and how we deal with the energy usage and what people are doing within that is very important. So us as a business, so we've been going a long time, over 120 years. Our business philosophy is not to, certainly not to take anything at any cost. We aim to be the trusted advisor, the real estate advisor of choice, not necessarily the biggest, but the best as judged by our clients. So what does that mean in real estate? Quite often, when people hear real estate, they think about dodgy deals and under the table stuff, right? And how, when you hear real estate agent, which was in the news a lot this year about influencing markets and influencing prices of land in different places around the country, that's something that we actively avoid and maintain a very strong ethical position, which is fundamental for our business, and that's the reason why we've been in business so long. So it's taking pride in the work that we're doing, whether it's new starters with us or people that have been with us for over 25 years. We have several people in the company that have been with us over 20 years in Hanoi. Many people in the organization have been with us over 15 years. So we have a lot of people who have been with us a very long time. And part of that is why we have a good reputation is that integrity and acting with integrity, not being swayed to change our professional opinion and our professional ethics. Having said that, we're very entrepreneurial as well. We have a very flat management structure. We're very dynamic and active in the business environment and with our clients and with engaging with the general public through press and through media and through marketing. We're very we try to be. Maybe I can't say that we are, but we try to be a very diverse and engaging employer to help people really develop their career options and identifying people throughout the organisation, whether they have different career ambitions or position ambitions. And part of that is through our internship program. So we have a very active internship program, and currently we have 18 interns, just started about 3 weeks ago. So we aim to make sure that they have a very engaging internship. My personal philosophy on internships is that it's a two-way street. Obviously it's good for us as an employer. We get to spend time with potential recruits. It's obviously very helpful at the time. But in return, the onus is on us to provide a very educating and interesting internship to make sure that people are certainly educated about the working environment, about the real estate market, but also plenty of soft skills as well. So we have a very dynamic internship program. So get in touch if you would like to know more about that for next time. We are a global organisation, originally from the UK. But we're about 40,000 people, 2,000 of which are, I think that's more like 2,500 now actually. So we're a pretty big organisation in Vietnam in terms of people. I saw our esteemed colleagues gave a talk the other day. We're a significantly larger organisation, but yeah, we do have the market is active with several international competitors, but quite limited in Hanoi, I must say. In Ho Chi Minh City, there's a more diverse international real estate consultancy market. No direct Vietnamese competitors at the moment. The difference with our service offering is that we're offering what we call a full platform of services. So many companies might offer services in one or another, but our business model is to work with participants in the real estate sector from start to finish. So this could be from our market research, feasibility studies, just a fancy way of saying, is it going to work or not? So the highest, the best use, is my project going to make money? How much do I invest into it? How much can I buy the land for? What should I build? Our agency services are diverse and interesting. Personally, I started in office leasing. So this is working with multinationals, with the corporate sector. So our clients would be banks, would be embassies, would be tech organizations, life insurance companies. And this is a fun sector because you're working at a very high level. It's dynamic, it's fun, you're out and about a lot, you're busy. Retail sector is something we're also very active with. One of our recent clients was Louis Vuitton and Christian Dior. So if you know the building in Hanoi on Trang Tien, the LV store, that building was something we were involved in very closely in working with the LVMH group to identify that and future locations in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City. I spoke about industrial earlier, so we work with the industrial developers, industrial clients, manufacturing companies, so that's a very fun, interesting, hot sector as well. And also the residential. We're primarily involved in, let's say, the premium residential projects in Vietnam. And over the years, we've been very active in branded residential, resort sales, resort properties, that type of thing. So personally, I was involved a lot in Da Nang and working on some of the resort residential projects, things like Hyatt Regency, Namhai, Four Seasons, Ocean Villas, those types of projects. We also work with international buyers, so those people that want to invest into into the Vietnam real estate market. So this could be international buyers from Hong Kong, typically from Hong Kong or Singapore or Taiwan. We also work with Vietnamese buyers looking to invest overseas. I mean, obviously with our MOT, you have the Australia connection, so we often work quite closely with our Australia office, but particularly in Hanoi, the UK is quite a popular option, let's say. You know, many people going to study in the UK, postgraduate or going to work in the UK. Property management. So this is one of the fundamentals of our business. We're the largest property management company in Vietnam. And like I said, you won't realize we're there unless something screws up, right? So it's making sure the buildings operate, function, are safe as well. You know, it's thinking about things like fire safety, making sure that things are done properly to ensure the occupants' safety and enjoyment and getting the function of the building, whether it's retail or residential or commercial. Advisory side, so our advisory business is essentially market research, consulting. So if you have a piece of land or a development, we help identify what is the best business plan to do, right? So it's identifying what you can do with the land, what's going to generate the highest returns or the best, most feasible, sustainable development. So this is a very interesting part of the business. And a big team, so I think with around 30 to 40 people across the country working in this side of the business, and it's very, this is very in-depth stuff, right? So you're working with developers, with funds, a lot of market research, and I'm sure you've studied excuse me, I'm sure you've studied this in your degrees about how to undertake this research, and the MBA students of you, I'm sure, will be familiar with the business planning side of things. Hospitality, obviously having a bit of a bad run at the moment with no tourists and no international tourists, but Vietnam's been a very popular hospitality destination and will continue to be once international travel opens up. We have a separate, a distinct business line that is working with hospitality developers, with operators. So the operators are the hotel companies themselves to identify new developers, new projects. We're very active within the cities, within Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City, but also the beach destinations, so all the way from Ha Long down to Phu Quoc. And we particularly do a lot of work in Da Nang, and we had an office in Da Nang for a number of years. And we've worked on the majority of the developments up and down the coast there. So those of you who are interested in travel, think about the real estate side of it. Think about the hotels you've stayed in, what needed to happen so that they could be developed. In all the businesses that we work in, we apply specifically to the hotel sector, hospitality sector. Leasing, this is a very dynamic, fun part of the business. So those of you that are outgoing, want to get out and about and want a role or a job that enables you to meet as many people as possible, and engage with a lot of these organizations at a senior level. If you think about real estate as a cost to these companies, it's you're not selling stationery, right? It's a big cost involved to these businesses. So you're dealing at the most senior level, not just say the purchasing level, for example. So a lot of access to very interesting people and very interesting companies. And working in this business, you have to understand their business, right? So whether it's let's pick one, pick a recent one. Let's say retail. So LV&D, you start to understand the luxury retail market. Who have we worked with recently? JETRO is a Japanese trade organization, so you need to understand the dynamics of their business and what their concerns are about their real estate decisions. Law sector, finance, pharmaceuticals, obviously been hot. Tech, not necessarily clients in Vietnam, but Shopee was a recent one off the top of my head that we've been working with. Oh yeah, this is the Louis Vuitton, so you might recognize this building next to the Metropole. So we were involved working with the owner of the building to ensure that it was refurbished. If you remember the building, it was a bit tired and old before. It used to be the what was it before, Singapore Airlines and Citibank location, and sort of a bit of a tied office building above. But now fully refurbished, looks spanking new. LV and Dior were involved in the design and the refurbishment process, so very interesting to work with those retailers and that developer. Residential, so yeah, I mean, not to denigrate the residential sector, we do a lot of work in this at the premium sector, whether it's city or particularly resort-based that we've been quite focused on. Property management, I've spoken quite a bit about, but a big team now. So we're over 2,500 people. Yeah, 2,500. Sorry, that's within the company. Property management does account for around 90% of our staff, so it's a key part of our business. Square meter basis, this is probably closer to 8,500,000 square meters now, which is a big number to get your head around. If you look at Capital Place, for example, which is close to the RMIT location, that's about 100,000 square meters, for example. So 8 million square meters is a big chunk of real estate. Yeah, that's nice. It's a key part of our business. It's really the bread and butter. If you think about it, everybody needs property management, and that's a key part of making sure our business is running throughout the ups and downs, throughout the cycles. A lot of the projects in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City that you visit, shop in, or perhaps live in will quite likely be managed by Savills. Industrial sector I've spoken about. Again, this is working with property developers, but also these users, these logistics companies, these manufacturing companies. So we're working with the developers to make sure it's planned, to commercialize the property, whether it's leasing or selling, or there's arrangements called sale and leasebacks, and to sell the land and to sell the industrial park. So it's a very diverse financial sector. So it's not just, let's say, the leasing side of it. We do need a lot of people that are very financially literate and can understand the investment sector as well. Which leads me on to investment. So this is essentially M&A advisory. Any large commercial projects that you can think of are transactable, and people require funds. Are looking for income generating developments. But how to value? For those of you that are economics or business students, how do you value a property, right? How do you value a business? If you think about real estate asset, it is a business. It's generating an income. It's got a projected income. So how do we value that? What's it worth to a fund, to an institution, to banks? What's it worth to a vendor, to a seller, right? And so our role is to identify the opportunities, work with both parties to identify the pricing or the investment structure. How does a sale take place? So these are very complex transactions, and it's a very dynamic and, as you can imagine, lucrative part of the business. I think, as I mentioned earlier, these are very expensive assets, and there's a huge amount of demand for these types of assets, both from Vietnamese investors, but also international investors want to have access to these commercial developments. This could also be property developers who want to buy a piece of land. It's not just completed assets. So helping them to identify where to build a new project and how to acquire that land. As you can imagine, it's not easy, and it's expensive and very competitive to get this type of land. These are some of the transactions we've been involved with in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City. We work very closely with our regional teams on this. At the moment in Vietnam particularly, we work very closely with our team in Seoul, in Tokyo, as particularly investors from those countries are very acquisitive and interested in the Vietnamese real estate market. So it's working with those very interesting international clients as well. For the marketing guys out there, we have a marketing agency. We got a bit tired of working with various creative agencies, so we thought we could do it better, and we can. So we're working specifically on the real estate marketing side of things and real estate marketing agency side of things to make sure that real estate is sometimes it's a bit rubbish, basically. If you look around a lot of the residential developments, the marketing and the branding could be a lot better. So we're helping clients with that, whether it's residential, but it could also be commercial or shopping centres or even industrial zones, industrial parks. a lot of these places do need to be competitive and do need to be marketed correctly to make sure that they attract the right customers at the right price, which is the point of marketing. Essentially, I don't know if that's the academic point of it, but in reality, is the point of it is to attract the best customers to pay the highest price, I imagine. So that's what we're doing as well. Yeah, on the marketing side, so it's called Savills Place. So it's a marketing creative agency. So it's working with everyone essentially involved in the real estate sector, particularly developers. But we also start working with the architect side of things, but also the governmental organisations, whether it's cities or provinces, and everything in real estate, from residential to data centres. Okay. Just conscious of time. So as an employer, if I'm sitting in your shoes, right? So I've told you a lot about the real estate sector, why it's a viable career option. Perhaps now you're interested, or you were interested before. What are we looking for? While we're waiting for RMIT to offer a real estate degree, we're interested in people that are essentially motivated. The academic subject can be important, particularly for more specialised business lines, such as valuation or the investment sector. But we primarily, it's the character and aptitude, people that are motivated, interested in developing their career and continuing to learn and study. It doesn't finish once you walk out the door and you get your graduation certificate and your ceremony, go for a party, right? You're just starting the learning journey, hopefully, of your career. And so we're looking for people that are interested in doing that, and are academically competent and have achieved well, have done well in their academic career. This is written by our HR, but yeah, I mean, a lot of it does come down to that communication. I'll talk about, I don't think we've covered it later, but I'll talk about how to do well in interviews. If I could give you my quick top tips on interviews, because I've interviewed a lot of graduates or interns over the years, is do your research firstly. Hopefully you've listened to this presentation and you have a pretty good idea about it. If we're interviewing people, we don't really want it to be a one-way conversation. We want to know that you're motivated to do it, right? And that you've done your research and you've really thought about it. We don't expect you to be an expert, but we do expect you to have shown an interest. My second top tip for interviewing is wear a suit or wear business attire. Many people just turn up quite casual, which is a bit of a turn off, frankly. To me, it demonstrates that you haven't really thought about it or given it due consideration. So top tip, visit a tailor if you haven't already. Be dynamic and come with questions, right? We're not your university professor. We're not just firing questions at you and getting monosyllabic answers, right? I've got a teenage daughter myself, so if we're interviewing people, we want to engage with people and we want to see that you're interested. Okay. Be open and optimistic. Make conversation. Make contact with me. Have that conversation. Brand yourself well and be open. And particularly those of you that are doing business or marketing, market yourself. Right. Think about how you're presented. What's your online brand? What's your LinkedIn brand? Think about how you can demonstrate these to us or potential employers. That's what makes the X Factor. That's not really helpful, but X Factor is someone that has done all those things, which is fairly rare, to be honest. Further education within the sector. So the key one out of the UK is the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors. So MRICS, member of the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors. This essentially is a professional certification, professional body that is a mark of quality and is very much focused on the ethics and professional side of the business. So this is quite common and something that we've put many of our team in Vietnam through this professional qualification. There's some more information there. It's the HR side of things. We do a lot of, what's that say? We do a lot of events, whether it's training, whether it's social, whether it's taking part in the industry, in the wider real estate or business community. A lot of our, particularly with the interns, I don't know, 2 or 3 times a week, they'll have quite detailed sessions from a senior member of the team on a particular topic to make sure that they're getting a lot out of this. And hopefully we're known, it's hard for me to comment, but hopefully we're known as a good, fun place to work that does focus on quality and improving people. But it's also enjoyable and a good team environment and some good colleagues and management teams that help you on the journey as well. I mean, this doesn't really apply for Vietnam. I mean, obviously in the UK, everywhere around the world, we need to make sure we're diverse. I think we're very diverse in that. But over 50% of our senior team is female, so I don't think we necessarily have an issue with this. But talking about the length of service, a lot of the team have been with us for a significant amount of time. Ji Hong was the OG, the original employee, been with us for over 25 years now. Going down a bit, but certainly up to 10 years. I don't know the percentage, but there's a lot of people that have been with us for a long time. So hopefully that's a good sign as well. But on the flip side of it, we've also got a lot of people that have been with us, but also moved on to other careers and other organisations, particularly in the real estate sector. So we have a very big alumni group of our own, actually, within our clients, which has been very helpful. And we maintain a very active alumni. We try to maintain a very active alumni group. We see people around the sector a lot. So we do have a bit of, we are known for being a bit of a real estate school within the sector as well, which is not a bad thing. Charitable sector that we work very closely with Blue Dragon, who you might be aware of, both in supporting them in terms of helping some of their students in further education. We've taken a conscious decision not to partake in any industry awards. So you'll see companies going in for all these types of awards, right? They end up costing a lot of money to attend these events and promote these events. So we thought it was a bit of a waste of time. We're quite confident we don't really need the awards. So we thought we'd redirect that money into more useful and charitable functions rather than banging our own drum and congratulating ourselves. We're helping people to get better access to education and careers. So if you are interested in real estate, we're very open across the board. You could already be working. You could be a graduate. You could be a final year student. You could be thinking about it in your first or second years. Start to think about real estate and think about where you're sitting at the moment. Think about what led to you being able to sit in that place at the moment, whether you're in a coffee shop or your home or an educational institution. Think about the career options and think about how your characteristics or education might be able to apply to real estate and get in touch. We're very open. We're not a scary corporate. We do have the HR team who are always open to chat to people, but feel free to reach out to me as well if you've got a particular question or interested in things. We have a lot of information online. We've got a lot of videos, a lot of Facebook stuff. You can check out the internship program if that's something you're interested in. So see, have a look at what we're doing, check us out online, and feel free to get in touch. So I hope that was 45 minutes, so probably talking too long and too fast, I imagine. So if you've got any questions, I'm happy to answer them. But yeah, thank you for listening about Savills.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Matthew, for your attendance and your time today. So obviously, our MIT student, we have a lot of information and insight into the real estate industry. So yeah, I can see lots of questions coming from our student in the chat box.
Okay.
So, yeah, quite a lot. So yeah, we can start with the first one. Are there any positions for the student year 1 and year 2 in RMIT to work in your company? I think student.
Year 1 and year 2. Yeah, the internship program is something to think about. In terms of actual employment, is difficult because we're generally getting people on for full-time permanent positions.
Yeah.
So it's not something we can really dip in and out of. To be perfectly honest, our preference is for more final year students. Just because the reason for that is because we do view internships as a potential employment pool. However, for very motivated and very interested in first and second year students who might want to come back, you know, during their university career and potentially afterwards, then we're very open to it. But that's kind of where we are. Preference is more for final year or graduates, but we're open to it for outstanding students, let's say.
Yeah. Okay. So based on your answer, so can you give us some advice for student year 1 and year 2 to prepare for their internship?
Yeah, absolutely. Educate yourself about the subject. I mean, we have a huge amount of research online. There's a lot of real estate documentation. If you just go through the Savills website, there's research there. But also the Savills global website, there's a lot of research. So educate yourself about the market. It is a very diverse and interesting sector, and people go on to postgraduate study, specifically in real estate. So, you know, I'm sure MIT offers a master's degree in Melbourne for real estate. So have a think about it.
Thank you. Okay, so now we move to the second question from Anh Bùi. Good morning, Mr. Matthew. May I raise a question for you? What kind of additional knowledge or skill do I need to develop apart from interpersonal skill and our degree prior to working within the real estate industry?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a prerequisite. However, it's going to make it much easier for us and more interesting for us if you've really, as I said, researched the market and you know what we do. Yeah, you can spend 10 minutes on the website, but if you are coming for an interview, you know, Google it, right? You know, find out what are the issues in the real estate sector at the moment. You know, Vietnamese news is full of real estate issues and questions and topics, right? So find out what is going on. What are the key issues of the day? What are the policies affecting this? What are the economic issues, etc. And so we can have an interesting conversation, right? Quite often we find that students and graduates are a little bit uninformed, right, and not necessarily what we'd hope to see in terms of their, in terms of having read around the subject. You need to understand we're not, you know. University's great and everything, but we're not your, you know, we're not your parents, we're not your teachers, we're not your professors, right? This is kind of real world stuff now, so we want to see a bit of engagement and educated yourself, not because of the deadline, right?
Okay, yeah. Thanks a lot for your answer. So we move to the next one, because I think, you know, like RMIT student really interested in the employment and internship opportunity in Savills.
Yeah, right. I mean, look, it's not the be all and end all. You know, my scores weren't the best either. Don't worry about it too much. I mean, you need to be, competent, right? But things happen. Shit happens, as they say, right? You're not always get the first or whatever the grades are here. Getting what I mentioned earlier about that engagement and that aptitude and how you're presented will make up for some of if you've not done as well as you'd hoped on your exams. In some areas, some parts of the business, it's a bit more important than others. And if you look at the investment side, we kind of do need a rigorous, we need someone that's very financially literate. If you look at leasing, for example, it's very much a commercial business or a people business. So those skills are going to be very important. So if you're falling down in one area, make sure you're getting top grades in the other area. Turn up looking smart with a haircut and, looking presentable and engaging. That will make up for we're not so concerned in many parts of the business about just the academically brightest. Even if your grades are great, make sure you're good in those other areas as well, because it's not just about grades, right?
Yeah. Okay, so I think, the concern is because, on your slide, you show that a student with, GPA from 3.7 to 4 we get the chance to work in Savills.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't write that. So
it's quite high,
Yeah, okay, I don't even know what that means, to be honest. But that was, I think, written by our HR team, and that's a very HR thing to write. So don't let that discourage you, to be honest. Look, I should probably take that off the slide. Don't worry about it. Obviously, we need to make sure that you're not completely incompetent, but it's not the highest grades in the world.
Okay, because in here we have the question like, in my GPA, if my GPA is below the average, what should I do now to improve my chance of getting recruited? I do not have any working experience yet, but I am really interested in the real estate industry.
Yeah, I spoke about that earlier. Just make sure you're bringing yourself up in other areas of the business, so other areas of your you know, whether it's personal presentation, whether it's your personal branding, on your knowledge about the market.
Yeah.
Mayang, yeah, okay, here we go, economic question.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, so, I mean, so you've got, I'm sure you've learned about the economic cycle. There is a specific real estate cycle as well. So, yeah, highly, you know, affected by political cycle in Vietnam is very short as well. It's only 4 years. So that has a huge impact on the Vietnam real estate market, economic cycle as well. So yeah, it's very interwoven and very interlinked into the general political cycle, economic cycle, and then there's a specific real estate cycle, which is supply and demand driven. If you think about it, when prices are high or everyone's confident and investing, then there's going to be a supply boom. Developers think, oh great, you know, I should build my real estate now. Then eventually you've got too much supply, prices go down, the market contracts, and then you end up in this cycle. So typically it's about seven years, but yeah, it's very affected by recessions, disruptive events, international events, positive or negative, and the political cycle in Vietnam. You know, in Vietnam, you know, it's every 4 years, but you know, think about there's at least a year either side of that to where it's winding down and winding up. So it's very difficult to get things done, you know, during last year, or even during this year still, it's very difficult to get things licensed or applications to be approved while the political cycle is winding down or winding up. So yeah, that definitely it's a financial product at the end of the day, so it's very linked to the economic factors.
Yeah. So what about COVID-19? What about your, okay, say like your review of the, you know, situation like COVID-19? It happened and it is influence the leasing industry.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm certainly not immune. Because real estate is so diverse, it has a lot of different effects, right? You know, look at the hospitality industry. It's you know, really kicked their ass. You know, it's very difficult if you're owning a hotel at the moment. But you know, in other sectors, residential market less impacted. The office market, you know, funnily enough, has not been hugely impacted. Vietnam's got a lot going for it, so this is why real estate continues to do quite well. And COVID has obviously been a huge hurdle, but you know, these factors haven't gone away in Vietnam. So real estate is driven by the demographics, you know, income levels, population, urbanization rates, education. You know, we've got lots of greatly educated people coming into the market. So this drives the general business confidence and the, you know, the income and economy in general. Vietnamese have been, you know, very great getting into investing in the real estate market individually as well. You know, buying lots of apartments and using it as a wealth storage. You know, it's a lot of, you know, as you know, a lot of people will, you know, build up a lot of equity in the residential market, right? So that's sort of buffered a lot of the effects of COVID, and hopefully we're, you know, touch wood, we're getting close to coming out of it. Hopefully there's no more lockdowns. But you know, we're confident that Vietnam will bounce back very quickly. Particularly once the international borders open, that's going to really stimulate things a lot. So, but yeah, there's still a huge demand for investment products, for investors coming into Vietnam, industrial companies, this type of thing. So
yeah, thanks a lot. So we move to the next question from Quân Nguyen. He asked about the career path.
Career paths are diverse. You know, whatever your kind of you know, interest or education background, it could be finance, it could be investment, it could be marketing, it could be sales. So have to think about the business lines and what we do, or where your interest lies as well. So we've got the different business lines, but also we've got the different real estate sectors. So you can think about where those two intersect and where you might see yourself. You don't know?
Yeah.
Come and have a chat.
Okay.
Help you figure it out.
Okay, so we move to a question from Tân Trần. Morning, sir. If I don't have a real estate related degree, will real estate related experience be an advantage?
Necessarily, can be.
Yeah.
It's not a prerequisite. We would like to see real estate degrees in Vietnam, and while some real estate background may be of interest, may be relevant, it's not a prerequisite. And in some cases, it's not necessarily desirable or not going to, discourage people with real estate experience from buying, but we do like to do, we do have our own way of doing things, certainly on the business practices side of it. So we do tend to recruit people that, so just fresh graduates essentially, and it's a lot to do with the character and aptitude and ambition, not necessarily to do with the real estate side of things. We rarely recruit from competitors or real estate developers, that side of thing. If anything, it's the other way around.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we move to the next one. I think it's quite interesting question for students who, really interested for the career path in Savills. Because in here, student ask about the academic path. I think, an academic path that can be related to the CV should, put in the CV to stand out and, have an interview.
Yeah, CVs are an interesting topic. Funnily enough, graduates or students they just list the degree, right, and where you study. And I don't really care what part-time job you had in, working in a shop or something, to be honest. And that's what people sort of devote half their CV to. Certainly at this stage of your career, I'm more interested in what you have been studying and what's your thesis been on, and what's been your most. Tell me about your modules and some of your last year, or any of it, and tell me a bit about what you've been studying. I mean, that's what you've been devoting large part of your life to, right? So
yeah.
I want to hear more about that than you've been captain of the football club. I mean, yeah, I want to know that.
Okay.
I'm more interested in your academic side of things, certainly at this time of your career for sure. So spend a bit of time, outline it. Get your LinkedIn's going, guys. This is the best way to reach out to people. Your CV is rarely sort of looked at, to be honest. Reach out, interact with people online. Make sure your LinkedIn is good. Get a good photo. It's not Facebook, right? Make sure you're well presented and you're really highlighting what you've been studying online as well.
Yeah. Okay. So I think one more, and Link also asked about GPA. The GPA in the CV screening round, and what if the GPA of my CV does not meet the company requirement? Which requirement or skill I can replace it?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't really know what I don't really know what the scores mean, to be honest.
Lots of questions.
Maybe the HR team did. But look, as I said, I'm personally more interested in I would assume that you're academically capable, certainly for many parts of the business. I really want to see a bit of personality, a bit of maturity as well, and really do your homework, do your research, and that will make up for a lot of if you've got a bit of a lower GP than you'd hope for. I can't emphasize enough that a lot of the students or graduates we meet are still kind of, what's a nice way to say this, still not really fully aware that they're entering the adult world, right, in the business world. Start to think, act, dress like it, talk like it, and you'll go a long way, or go a long way faster.
Yeah.
Scanning the question. Okay, yeah. What are the interview questions? The company. That's a good one. Yeah. Some from Fook. I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead. Sorry.
You see.
Anyway, I'm going to go answer Fook's question. What are the interview questions that we normally ask? I want to know what questions you've got. It's much more interesting to me than asking the same questions each time. Yeah, look, we want to know a bit about what you've been doing, but everyone's pretty got a pretty similar background at this stage of their career. So I want to have a conversation. I want to see that you can engage. I want to see that you've done your research. That's the main thing. So I'm just going through them. Would you mind just workflow and office culture? Yeah, look, we're certainly quality driven. I think we're certainly, that's the right word, perfectionists. We want things to be active, to be dynamic. We're not, we're a meritocracy. You know what that means? We're focused on what people can achieve and what people can deliver. So we're fairly intolerant of people that are not focused on that quality side of things. But also it's a good fun environment. So we want people that engage, want to interact, want to learn, but also focused on the quality side of things. So it's not just all laughing around all day. I mean, we're very much it's a bit of a cliche, but work hard, play hard organization.
Yeah. I think we have a really long question from Anh Bùi. I have another question that needs your guidance. You have mentioned that you have many types of properties from residential, farming. So as a market research intern, will be working on a specific type of property, or should I be prepared to be familiar with any kind of property?
Typically, people initially would be working on a particular sector, but you won't know that in advance. So don't sort of gamble on that. My advice is to read around the subject. We publish a hell of a lot online, so you could learn a lot. You could be ahead of 99.9% of the candidates if you read and understand and can articulate a lot of the research or a lot of the current themes. I would be completely shocked if someone talked about market research, statistics, or very topical subjects in an interview. So please do. I keep saying it. Do your research, especially if you're interested in market research, right?
Yeah. Okay. So now we come to the question, because our market student, we have some foreign student, and here, hi sir, do it important to know Vietnamese language for the real estate field? And will it be possible to move to real estate field if I learn economics and finance?
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm assuming that you do speak Vietnamese. Yeah. So yeah, look, it doesn't hurt, right? We're in Vietnam. I mean, internationally, I don't know. I mean, there's not so many Vietnamese investors overseas, but yeah. Look, I mean, a lot of the companies we work with are Vietnamese organisations, and a lot of people we're interacting with, obviously Vietnamese. Let's flip that around. We do work with a lot of international clients. So if you do have it, I'm guessing you'll speak good English at RMIT, but if you do have any other language capabilities, it can be quite interesting, particularly Korean or Japanese or things like that. Economics and finance, yes, you can move to it. Here's an interesting one. How does Savills stand out from the competitors such as CBRE? Well, we wouldn't necessarily. I know they were speaking on Monday, but both international real estate consultancies. We definitely have a much larger presence than CBRE in Vietnam, and particularly in Hanoi. So I like to think we're better. Company culture, I think I spoke about, but yeah, look, I mean, there's a variety of international real estate organisations. Savills, CBRE, Jones Lang LaSalle, Cushman & Wakefield, Colliers, companies like that, all different types of organisations, or different bases, or perhaps different cultures. CBRE is an American organisation, so that may have an impact on their culture. British corporate culture is, slightly different as well, not necessarily good or bad. Last one, property management from Khoa, right?
Yes.
Yeah, look, it could be anything from the technical engineering side to the asset management side, so making sure the asset keeps its value, working with the users of the property. It could be a shopping centre manager, for example. And that's a lot of marketing, a lot of working with retailers, a lot of making sure that continues to operate. Residential property management, again, is very different. A lot of working with residents, a lot of looking at the marketing activities. So it's essentially ensuring the asset maintains its value, is safe, functions well, and operates commercially as well. So yeah, look, it's a good question. Property management is a very serious part of the business and perhaps underrated, and people don't necessarily think about it as a career option, but it's a very, very interesting part of the business and does require a lot of talented individuals to come into it. But it's one of those things you don't necessarily think about unless it's not working, right? So, but yeah, give it some thought. Next time you're walking around an office building or even your campus, right? Think about how that operates and who's managing that, right? To make sure that you can study there effectively. Yeah.
Thanks a lot for your interesting sharing. And now I think it's already more, 11 a.m. So yeah, so student, before we leave the session today, so please take a photo with our guest speaker. Can you turn on your camera, please?
That's quiet. You're probably there you are.
I think our student a little bit shy.
Shy, eh?
Yeah.
Come on, don't be shy.
Come on, just turn on your camera. It's okay. Okay, so I will wait for 10 seconds for student to turn on your camera. Okay, can we take the camera, take a photo now?
Go for it.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot for your sharing today, Mr. Matthew.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, good luck with your studies, everyone. And,
yeah.
Your future careers, and you've got all the. I think you've got the presentation. So read of it and get in touch if you'd like to discuss more.
And hope that our student can join Savills in the future. Okay. Yeah. Okay, student. Yeah. So take note that you will have more session in the afternoon and tomorrow. The today's session will be VPS. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Have a nice day. Bye bye.